Hi, my name is Dave Riedstra. This show is titled 802.11. What happens is each of these devices are gathering the Wi-Fi traffic from the environment and from the area, and they can pick up all kinds of traffic, and they are turning it into sound. The sounds are based on the different functions of the Wi-Fi signal that they're gathering at any given moment.
Tell me about the sound. So they grab the traffic in the waves, but the sound is made how?
Within the Wi-Fi specification, each packet has a different function. Some packets are for carrying data, other packets are just for communicating the presence of a device in a network, other packets are designated to perform a handshake function, so to make sure that transmissions are received properly and devices are talking to each other, authenticating networks, many different types of functions. Each of these functions are represented in a different way by different sounds. There are 3 larger types of functions, and then within those large types there are subtypes, and so the large types are separated through register, so you have the very high sounds being one type, the middle short sounds being another type, and the lower sounds being the third type. And the pitch within these registers is representing the subtype within the register. Furthermore, within the Wi-Fi specification, there are, within North America, 2 large frequency bands that are used, and within each of those frequency bands there are different channels, which are just smaller frequency sets. And so each of these devices is jumping at more or less at random at different paces through the different channels within the 2.4 gigahertz frequency. And so the pitch is affected by which channel it's on in that within that frequency, and that modulates the pitch of the sound that's representing the Wi-Fi packet that it receives.
So the sounds that we are listening to, for example, right now, you will say how many different pitches has, or
many different pitches, and some of there's actually more happening than we can even hear right now. The lower sounds, which may not be picked up by this microphone right now because they're kind of quieter, are happening very quickly, and it sounds more or less like a constant stream of things happening, and that is representing the different Wi-Fi routers within the range just broadcasting their presence, saying, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here, so that your devices know that they're there to connect to them. The higher sounds that are fading in and out, which are probably picked up by this microphone, represent data packets. So when you're going to a web page and you're asking the web page for an image or something, that's what these are representing. In general, they're louder as the signal is stronger. So as the Wi-Fi device is closer to one of these antennas here, the sound representing that device is going to be louder, and the length of the sound is correlated to the length of the Wi-Fi packet. So if you've requested more data, the sound will be longer.
So for us to be able to listen to the sounds, what do you do? Do you may put speakers, or how can we hear them?
Yeah. The sound is being created through little devices called transducers. If you're familiar with how speakers work, there's a vibrating diaphragm called the speaker cone. This is usually made out of a thin type of paper or maybe plastic or something, synthetic material. And then there's the driver in the middle that is actually moving this thing very fast. The transducers on the bottoms of these different nodes basically act as just the drivers on the speaker, and the wall is acting as the diaphragm. And so I'm literally feeding the sound through the physical environment of the space. So we usually think about Wi-Fi in terms of what it can offer us, and so we kind of base our interactions with Wi-Fi off of maintaining a strong connection so that we can, check our email or browse Facebook or something like that. We don't often think about it in terms of its physical properties, and so the fact that a Wi-Fi device like our router or like our laptop or our phone is actually emanating a spherical electromagnetic wave. And if we think about those, we can consider them in terms of like static Wi-Fi stations that are always generating these things more or less in the same place, and then the dynamic ones that are kind of following us around on our person. And I thought it would be interesting to represent those in a way that we can consider them in a more tangible, so to speak, way by generating the sound through the physical environment of this space to represent the electromagnetic environment of this space. So it's interesting to think that all of the Wi-Fi traffic, if we're thinking about just environmental signals, can be picked up by really easy to obtain hardware. The implications of this for security are maybe not so obvious, but if you don't encrypt your Wi-Fi traffic, for example, anyone in range can just pick it up and see all of the data that you're sending. Also, if we think about the data as a physical signal, it's possible just on the premise of sending out signals to track location through signal strength as an index of how close you are to a station. So what I've used for this installation is all fairly easy to obtain hardware and open source software, so pretty much anyone with the time and inclination can develop this. This computer here is a Raspberry Pi, and that's a consumer-grade Linux computer. This is just a cell phone charger, which is acting as the power supply, just a battery. This Wi-Fi antenna is something like $15 at Staples, and it's supporting a mode that will let you just pick up all of this traffic. It's called monitor mode. And then the transducer behind this tape and the signal amplifier are just there to generate the sound, and those you can pick up from DIY electronic sources such as Parts Express or Adafruit.
So, and after this exhibition on this installation, what's next for you? Do you have any plans for the future?
Yep. So normally I work as a composer of acoustic music for performance, and this summer I'll be going to Toronto to study with a composer named Martin Arnold. One of the things that I'm interested in the most is how people experience different types of environments, from physical environments, as I've talked about earlier, to social environments, and how their experience of their own body in those environments changes. So I'll continue to play with those ideas in my acoustic composition, and I'm possibly going to take this, the premise of this installation further, and look at different ways of interacting with and representing the electromagnetic environment.